Hey, hey, VA fam, it's Mandy here, and I am so excited to introduce you to my guest this week. You may have seen her on your favorite channel and mine, HGTV. Paige Turner is the incredible host of HGTV series Fix My Flip. But beyond being an incredible host and real estate entrepreneur, she is, in general, a multi time entrepreneur, real estate broker, flipping expert, executive producer, TV host, vision strategist, and the founder of eGap Real Estate and Do the Work Inc. After working for many, many years under the tutelage of humanitarians such as Magic Johnson, no big deal. Paige is a self-started and successful entrepreneur that has been a real estate broker, flipper, and investor for 2 decades. She's also a published author. You can check out her book, The GO Life, on Amazon. And she owns her own company, Do the Work Inc. and BLW Productions. She's the co-creator and executive producer and host of her not one but second hit HGTV show, Fix My Flip. And Paige Turner is here with us today on Brown Ambition. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mandy. Hey, Brown Ambitioners. How are you guys?
Thriving, surviving,
every day,
all of that and more.
And so much more.
Tell me about, real estate flipping had such a huge, I feel like, I don't know, it was like part of everyone's fantasy. Like, I want to buy real estate and flip real estate over the past decade. And then the pandemic hit. And I would love to talk to you about, like, what does the real estate market look like now for people who are looking at it and saying, like, flipping sounds like a great, one could be fun, can be profitable, all that. But people are maybe freaked out by what the last couple of years have been like for the real estate market. How has it been for you? And let's just start there.
I love that you said that flipping can be fun, because that's the first myth. It's not. Spending money you make might be fun, but the flipping process, that sometimes and most times is what keeps people from getting into the real estate industry. This is a business. Mistake number one, thinking it's the real estate game. It's going to be fun. And I'm like, the fun is interesting. It gets fun at the end, especially when you can sell a house. But to get in real estate right now, I think at any time that somebody is ambitious enough to enter into the real estate field is the right time for them. Because real estate, no matter if we're in a high like we are now or a low like back in 2007 during the recession, real estate is always selling. So it's really about your perseverance. It's really about your business plan. And it's really about what your purpose is for being in real estate. That's the first question.
Yeah. Right. So you can tell which one of us is the real estate investor and which one of us is not. Which one of us sits on the couch and watches HGTV and thinks that looks like fun. It's unglamorous. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, this is the thing. Depending on who you are, when I'm old school, my mother raised me old school. My mother and my grandmother were back in the days where you dressed up to get on an airplane and you did not wear a scarf and some sweats and some flip-flops. Okay. They wore heels, their pearls, and had their hats on. So wherever I go, I'm going to come with some glam. Okay. I don't care if I'm just running out to the store. Okay. That's because that's how I was taught, because you never know who you're going to run into. So there is a glam in this business, but it's roll up your sleeves, because you're putting down more money than you'll probably ever put in any one investment at one time in your life. So you have to keep that mindset that while we see that it's so pretty on TV, it's a straight up business that you can either excel in or fail.
Well, tell me how you got your start in real estate. Was that always your goal, when it came to your career?
No, I actually wanted to be like a music manager mogul. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't write anything, but I can connect people and I know great talent. So I wanted to be in the music industry, but then I happened to have 3 little babies, all by the time I was 23, all under the age of, I was 23 actually when I had my twins. And I said, well, although I was born into a family of entrepreneurs, this is really all I know. I still tried, and then it just wasn't working for my pocketbook like I needed to as a manager. And and I also working for Magic Johnson. So I worked, long story short, I worked for him in all of the different, departments he has in Magic Johnson Enterprises. And one of them was Magic Johnson Development, where we were going into urban areas and finding places to build Black owned movie theaters owned by him. And so at that time, Ken Lombard was his vice president, told me, you should get your real estate license because if we're buying this land, you might as well be the one selling it to us. Well, then I ended up moving to Nashville because I just couldn't afford LA any longer. I was going to be poor with my 3 children. And I was like, oh no, I can't be poor. So I went to Nashville, lived there for 20 years and said, you know what? I'm going to get my license. And so, because I remember what Ken told me. And so I did. And I think flipping became natural, just a natural progression as an entrepreneur in the real estate industry. Not every realtor does that, and not every realtor wants to. But for me, I'm all about the streams because I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I have several baskets just to make sure.
Income streams.
Exactly. So that's how I got into flipping. It was just a part of my journey naturally.
So you had a traditional sort of 9-to-5 corporate career. And then was flipping would you have called it a side hustle at the time?
Well, I've never had a corporate career. I've always worked for entrepreneurs. I worked for Spike Lee, then I worked for Magic Johnson. And so when we say 9-to-5 corporate, it wasn't a 9-to-5 corporate. We were going to parties. We worked really, really hard, but I was working for a legend. So it was a lot different. And then I jumped into real estate full time. That's something else we have to just kind of stop saying, Mandy, the real estate hustle. I'm coming in and I'm changing mindsets because in order for minorities to understand how much wealth there is in real estate and how we can close that gap, that wealth gap, we have to understand that it's a real business and it takes a lot of time, a lot of tears for me, a lot of money and a lot of wherewithal to run your business if you want to make it as your full-time business. So I went from working with Magic Johnson and right into real estate, and it worked because I worked it.
Yeah, I mean, talking about working for not necessarily traditional corporations, you're working for moguls in their own right, self-made moguls. How did you end up working for the likes of Magic Johnson, Spike Lee? How did those relationships start?
You know what's cool about growing up in Los Angeles? You kind of know somebody who knows somebody who knew somebody who can connect you with somebody. So it's like just, and LA is not as big as people think it is. So my father was the first Black optometrist that owned the first Black optical business in Los Angeles, and it was called Page Optical, and it was right in the heart of the Crenshaw district and community. And he designed all of those big glasses for the stars, Black Hollywood, Stevie Wonder, and Sammy Davis Jr. with the rhinestones on them, and the big square glasses that are back in style now.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up around.
I mean, I
love your glasses too. That's the first thing I look at when I see people with glasses on. I'm like, nice. Or I'm like, you would do better in a different frame. Because I grew up, my mother was an optometrist, my sister was an optometrist. So I grew up in the eyeglass business. And just by that virtue of my father knowing everybody in Black Hollywood, I grew up with one of Quincy Jones' daughters. You name it, I've known somebody. And that's how I started working for Irvin. I was working at Spike Lee had a clothing store out here, and I was the assistant marketing director way back in the day. It was called Spike's Joint West. You remember when Spike Lee's we might be too young to remember that, but he had a clothing line. And right, he had a clothing line.
Okay.
It was a huge clothing line.
I believe it.
You have to believe it. It was amazing. And so she wanted to leave there. My boss did. Her name was Taylor Michaels. She became my mentor. And she ran into like Denzel Washington, who owned a restaurant on Melrose. And he was like, hey, Magic's looking for some people to start this, his Magic Johnson Enterprises. She was like, oh, okay, I'll call him. That's LA, right? I'll call him. So she called him, and then she brought me along as her assistant, and then I grew in the company.
Did you always know I'm going to have my own? I mean, obviously you wanted your different income streams, but did you always know, I'm supporting him, but I'm going to own my own brand, my own company someday?
I did. Looking back, I was maybe 23 to 27 when I was working for him. And 21, I guess. I'm so embarrassed sometimes. I used to give him proposals on record labels. I was just trying to figure out how to get out of this quote 9 to 5 with him still, with me still in tow next to him, but saying, listen, let me go start my own thing. You fund it, I'll run it, So I knew that, I was there. It was a blessing while I was there. I learned so much. He is a brilliant businessman. I still have communication with him. Right before the pandemic started, we were working on something really amazing, just about to sign the paperwork. Then the pandemic hit. So that's kind of derailed it a little bit. But most importantly, he taught me about relationships, relationships, being resourceful and winning, winning. He knows who he is when he walks in a room, and he knows the value that that has.
I mean, part of me is so happy to hear about a Black woman who managed to find the kind of environment where she could thrive and be poured into, by people in business, because I feel like with Through Brown Ambition, I've met, and even in my own work, I coach a lot of women through their careers, and so many of us are out there just like starving for those connections and those places where we can thrive. And I feel like what's inspirational about your story is, you do talk about those relationships. And for people who are maybe thinking, okay, well, do I got to know Magic Johnson to be successful? What would you say to someone who's feeling, okay, I understand relationships, but what if the people that are within arm's reach of me don't necessarily have the means or the space for me to learn and to grow as a business person?
Well, okay, so that's a great question, and it's super layered. First thing is that was absolutely a once in a lifetime opportunity that landed in my lap that I said absolutely yes, right? And I was young, so I really didn't even know the power of Magic Johnson then, because I was 21, I think. And I grew into like, wow.
You were a baby.
I was like, I should have never left, I should have stayed with him, because entrepreneurialism is no joke. But this is what I would say. You have to swim upstream a lot of times to find that connection, to find those circles. And remember, I said a few minutes ago, it's about relationship. Even if you live in Nebraska, there's somebody who knows somebody to get you to where you want to be. Now, you might have to pivot. You might have to make U-turns. You might have to go through some, stop, don't go this way, go the other way. But there's somebody, wherever you need to go, you have to start building relationships to get there. And that comes from me, from serving. I built strong relationships authentically. And I did not mind starting as a receptionist at Magic Johnson Enterprises. Now I think we have more, this generation has a very microwave mentality where it's going to happen overnight, and it never does. There is a 10-year process, 10 years. You see these overnight sensations on TikTok and people think, I want that, I want that. But if you really, I'm sure, if you really dig into their story, and there are those successes, there are those, like, how did that happen? Of course we have those, but the overnight success when you're building a business is never overnight, So I would say to that person who might be in the middle of nowhere and wants to, stretch their arms across the lakes and meet the likes of a Magic Johnson, let's say, you just have to start working towards it and swimming towards it and start connecting with people in your business, in your industry, and just start moving up. It will happen. You hear the stories all the time. It happened for me. I'm a single mom, 3 kids, and I was working for one of the greatest wonders in the world.
Yeah. And honestly, if you even take out the name Magic Johnson, what you really did was you followed your gut and you invested in personal relationships. So forgetting even that the person, you happened to be working for was this extremely famous celebrity and, quite successful and all of that. You were just a woman who got a job and impressed the hell out of her boss, it sounded like, and the people that she worked around cultivated those relationships so that when you were branching out into your real estate business, I'm sure because of those relationships, you could lean on people for support, advice, guidance, and relationships, y'all are listening. That's what I'm talking about all the time. People matter. Yeah. There's this connotation that it's like schmoozing or like this negative, I'm, making relationships so I can get something out of people, and in a way that I don't know why we have that perception that building relationships can be somewhat nefarious, but it can also be beautiful. You mentioned service and how to add value, as much value as you were asking people to give you in return. And I think would you agree that's like the secret to having those relationships where it's not purely transactional?
I think the secret is not making it a secret. I think that your heart has to be pure and you have to have a servant's heart first, And so when I say serving, if that means that you're going to get somebody some water, you have to, and there's nothing behind it other than I honor you and I respect you because I'm following your curve. Success leaves clues. So there's no reason why you would not want to go serve people. But if you don't have a servant's heart, it's never going to work for you. Right? Like I led with service. I led with, yes, it was my job, but I also understood, I didn't know this term back then. Of course, we didn't have it. I understood the assignment of who I was working for and I honored that. So it was natural. So that's why I can call Mr. Johnson's office now. Hey, can I set up a meeting with Irvin? And the answer is yes. And I haven't worked for him for 22 years. But I kept that relationship going because I honored him and Cookie and their children, and I was there when they adopted Elisa in the chambers at the courthouse, their daughter. So that means something. Now, everybody's not going to have that. This is so true. Everybody's not going to have that. But there is a way where you can go into an industry and shake hands with people and just tell them, I would like to work for you and I'm here to serve. What can I do? Because success leaves clues, and I don't need to create, there's nothing new under the sun. So anything we want to do has already been done. It's just being done your way. But you have to learn first how to do it well.
Brown Ambition, supported by Constant Contact, a digital marketing platform that helps small businesses and nonprofits of all sizes build, grow, and succeed. With email marketing, contact management, industry-leading list growth tools, social media ads, and more, Constant Contact helps small businesses connect with customers, find new ones, and sell online, all from one easy-to-use platform. They've been trusted by millions of businesses to help improve their marketing. With a 97% deliverability rate, you can rest assured that your customers and potential customers are getting the right message at the right time. With a simple interface, Constant Contact's easy-to-use platform makes contact management easier than ever. Their list growth tools help you find a bigger audience fast. Lead generation, landing pages, text to join, and social media ads are proven to grow your list and drive engagement with your brand. Plus, they've got thousands of integrations, so you can sync Constant Contact's tools with the tools you're already using. Powerful automation tools help you send the right message to the right person at the right time every time. To start your free digital marketing trial today, visit ConstantContact.com. Hey, BA fam, I don't know where in the world I would be without my beloved Canva Pro subscription. Even if they were not sponsoring the show, like, we are so proud to have them as a sponsor. But y'all, when I say I use Canva Pro every day, I mean I use Canva Pro every day. From the incredible graphics we create for Brown Ambition social media channels to everything on my Mandy Money website and all of my social media content, Canva Pro is where it's at. With Canva Pro, you get a design platform that empowers you to create and share stunning content in just a few clicks. You do not have to be a Photoshop or Adobe aficionado. Canva Pro makes everything so easy and simple. Not only is it simple, it's also really fun to use. They give you thousands of templates that are easy to customize, or you can start from scratch. Canva Pro has endless premium fonts, videos, photos, and so much more that you can use to add personality and edge to whatever you're designing. Right now, you can get a free 45-day extended trial when you use our promo code. Just go to canva.me/brownambition to get your free 45-day extended trial. That's canva.me/brownambition. Canva.me/brownambition. So you're getting your realtor license. That's where you started,
Yes.
right? What did you set out to start? I'm going to start a real estate business, and talk to me about what that looked like. For people who are listening, I think I was speaking about flipping houses as like, oh, maybe buy a house, fix it up, and, take a year or 2 years but you were like, no, this is going to be a business. It's not going to be one property. It's going to be dozens, or I don't know how many hundreds of properties. What was your approach to that, and how did you build it all these years?
Well, starting in 2003, I was a realtor. I got my license. I was just selling houses, and I had to learn the business. And guess what I had? I had a mentor. I found a woman that looks like me, that speaks like me, that understands me. She had a small business, so I didn't go to a big box. I did for about 2 weeks. I take that back. I did in 2003 for 2 weeks. And I found that nobody at that big box franchised real estate brokerage even looked at me twice. So then I sought out Nazarene Frazier, Southern Realtors, and I said, I want to come and work for you. I will run your errands. Because you have a big house, you have a Cadillac truck when they first came out, and I want to be who you are and even better, so please, whatever you need me to do, I'll put out yard signs. So I put my license with her. She became one of my first mentors. And that's how it started. So in 2003, you have to have your real estate license 3 years before you can become a broker if you don't have your college degree, which I don't have. So I had to wait 3 years. And she always knew that because of how I grew up with entrepreneurs, that my next, journey was going to be opening my own brokerage, which was EGAP Real Estate. So that's what I did in 2006. And by that time, now I'm a broker. Now I'm a broker owner. Now I'm a Black woman who owns my own brokerage, one of the first in Nashville, because Nashville was real small back then. And I said, okay, what else is going on in real estate? I need to learn more. You have to, if you have to learn every day something new about your business. Yes, I'm a real estate expert, but if you could see my desk right now, I have at least 15 printouts. When I see articles, I just start printing them out so I can read them. You have to stay hungry for knowledge. Even when you are the expert, there's still somebody who knows more than you.
Yeah. So you started out, I love that, getting mentorship and finding it in a small boutique, it sounds like, real estate broker.
I did.
And that, I love that, because you even recognize that when you're a bigger fish in a smaller bowl, you just get that. You get that attention and you hear more. It's a lot smaller. You get to hear and observe and absorb so much more. That's brilliant. Yeah. So when did you feel like you were ready? You said 2006. So I started covering finance as a journalist around 2009. And we all know what happened in that 3-year period. Yeah. The real estate market was probably a scary time to be in it. So what was that? How did you weather the Great Recession and the housing crisis as a budding, real estate broker yourself?
Well, it was horrible. I filed bankruptcy. I had to turn in my brand new Escalade that I did get. I sure did get that beautiful Escalade, and I owned a home, and I had these 3 little babies. So it was either give back my Escalade or make the mortgage payment. So, I called Cadillac like, hey, meet me around the corner because I live on a cul-de-sac and my neighbors are nosy, and I'm just going to give this truck back to you. So it was horrible. And I said to my mom, well, should I go work at the post office? I've never had a job before. Like, I've never had this corporate job that you mentioned before. And I'm in Nashville. At that time, we didn't have big celebrities to go work for. So what was I going to do? And my mother said, Paige, there are many, many ways to continue to make money in real estate. Keep digging, keep praying, and go find them. And I came across foreclosures. So guess what happened? I became the foreclosure listing agent queen for HUD. And I had that contract for 10 years. And I made a ton of money during the recession. So that first year, 2007 to 2008, was horrible. And I was freaking out, and I was just making sure my babies had food and paying my mortgage. That's all I cared about. And that's all I could really do. And then this opportunity came up, which is what my book is about, Go Life, seizing your greatest opportunity now. And you have to go find these opportunities sometimes. They're not just going to come. You can't be the best kept secret. It's not a thing. You have to get out there and find what you need to take care of yourself and your family. So I weathered that storm for just over a year, got the HUD contract, and I was a HUD listing queen in Nashville for 10 years. And it put my babies through private school during the recession. It put them through college during the recession. And I didn't have a dime in child support. So real estate, and then flipping too, also buying properties during that time. It wasn't a big bubble then. So these people making $200,000 and $300,000 off these flips, making $10,000 and $20,000 was normal then. And that's still a lot of money.
So HUD, okay. Not where I thought that story was going to end up, but how did that contract, and I'm loving the twists and turns of this. Also, single mom with 3 baby girls. I mean, I was raised by a single mom, so I'll bow down to you. And I will say, nothing like being the daughter of a strong single mom. I bet your kids are phenomenal.
They are.
So tell me about that HUD contract. How did that come to be? And what did that look like?
Well, so a lot of times people think HUD is just Section 8. HUD is, housing urban development. So it covers all things related to housing that the government is part of, but not just low income housing. That means, as you would know, that means FHA loans. So everything is governed under HUD as it pertains to FHA loans. And a foreclosed property with HUD is an FHA loan that's been defaulted. The person couldn't pay, so the house goes into foreclosure. But how that came about is I was scouring the internet, like, what am I going to do with my life in real estate? Because here's the other side of having a mentor who's part of a small boutique company and learning from them. It doesn't always mean you capture everything. So in hindsight, I should have learned from her, and then also learned from those big box franchises as well, because they really, like the Remaxes of the world, the Keller Williams of the world, they're really running the industry, right? We hear it. We, get the information fizzled down to us. But so looking back, I didn't even know what a recession was. But had I been paying a little bit more attention, I would have been prepared more for that curve ball that came and knocked us all out during the recession. Well, looking at the internet, I saw a small blurb. It was just as big as 8 font that said HUD is looking for listing agents. And I said, what does that mean? I didn't even know what that meant, but I knew I was an agent. I knew I was a broker, and I knew I was Black, which means what? There are minority contracts that they have to give out. They have to give a certain percentage to Black and brown people. And I thought, and I'm a woman. This all might work. So I clicked on it and I kept looking and digging and looking, and they were looking for proposals. I still didn't know what it meant, but I sent one in and I got it. Being a woman, being a Black woman, and being a broker owner, I was a triple threat. They were exactly what the quota that they needed I could fill. So in Nashville, in my area, they selected me, and I stayed part of that HUD family, which it wasn't family, but that group, because it's the government. So, for 10 years.
What was your experience like? I mean, you were basically listing foreclosed properties and then selling them to who? To real estate investors?
No, to buyers or investors as well. So what HUD does, HUD is not a real estate brokerage. So when a house goes, do you want to hear all this? Okay.
I do.
So when a house goes into foreclosure from an FHA loan, so let's say I'm Bank of America and you, Mandy, own a house that you purchased with an FHA loan. And unfortunately, you went into default, and now I have to come and as Bank of America, take the house back due to foreclosure. Well, because you purchased that home with an FHA loan, that means HUD, the government, is going to insure that loan for Bank of America. Otherwise, if it wasn't insured by HUD, that house is now going to go into my red book, and now I'm losing money, and now my bank's going to go upside down. Instead, HUD says, because I'm insuring this house with Mandy's loan, I'm going to take that off your books and put it in a little HUD holding zone in the sky. But because HUD's not a real estate broker, they hire and they give contracts to asset managers. The asset managers then find via a proposal and select the HUD listing agents. So I was boots on the ground. I go in the house, I secure the house after foreclosure when the previous owner has moved out, after default, secure the house, list the house, market the house, sell the house. So that's to investors, and that's to the general public as well. And actually, that's what HUD wants to resell to owner occupants, because that is what keeps the market going, not investors, which is why our market's so high right now.
Yeah. And I mean, having been in real estate for so long, it's similar to investing. I mean, there's going to be these dips. I mean, obviously the 2007-8 crisis was more than a dip. It was like a seismic event. But do you feel like your tolerance for those, how are you that tolerance, how important is that for the risk involved and for understanding that there's going to be these like ups and downs? And how has that informed the way that you approach your business ventures now?
I'll tell you what an old gentleman told me. I was showing a house in like 2000 and the market started coming back up. So it might have been 2016. And I couldn't believe that a house that was literally in Nashville, 150,000 one day, the next day was 300,000, literally. And I was standing outside of the house while the buyers were walking through by themselves. I like to give my clients a little space sometimes. And I was saying to the listing agent who had to be there to show, I said, I just can't believe this house is 300,000. I feel kind of bad because I know a couple months ago it was only 150. And he said to me, young lady, I've been in real estate for almost 50 years. He said, there are peaks and valleys in real estate that will always happen, highs and lows. When it's high, you ride it. When it's low, he said, when it's high, you sell and you save. And when it's low, you buy. He said, so this is what happens. It's the nature of real estate. And I never forgot that. So when we're high, you do all you can in real estate and save all you can so that when we're low, you can buy everything up. And it sounds horrible. And I said that because as a foreclosure listing agent for so long, if you think about it, I was selling the homes of people who lost their homes, which is horrible. But number one, somebody had to do it. Number two, it's business. And number three, I do have a different mindset behind people who go into foreclosure. Not everybody, but there is a mindset there. And a lot of people are just uneducated of what they can do when they're in trouble with a house. That's another podcast. So I could come back and talk to you about that another day.
Yeah.
So, I tell people that there's highs and lows in real estate, and that's just the nature of it. So when I'm walking when I'm thinking about my business, that's what you have to prepare for in business, the highs and lows in any industry, especially in the pandemic. Now we know how to survive a pandemic because we're both here. We survived it. So we could probably each write a book on that. So it's preparation and planning.
Preparation, planning, and then that resiliency when not if, but when those valleys come, and it's sometimes you have to go through it to know how to survive it. It's hard to tell to know until you've gone
Right.
through something that traumatic and that, terrifying, how to really come out on the other
True.
side. Support for Brown Ambition comes from our friends at Avast. Avast is a global leader in cybersecurity for more than 30 years, and they're trusted by over 435 million users worldwide. With their all-in-one solution, Avast One, you get help taking control of your safety and privacy online and preventing over 1.5 billion attacks every month. Avast One's award-winning antivirus software stops viruses and malware from harming your devices. With their data breach monitoring, you can find out if your online accounts have been compromised and whether your passwords need to be changed. Firewall protection keeps personal information secure and prevents attacks. With Avast One, you can confidently take control of your online world without worrying about viruses, phishing attacks, ransomware, hacking attempts, and other cyber crimes. Learn more about Avast One at avast.com. So today, obviously you still have the real estate business, right? Or is it mostly you're focusing on your show? What does Page Turner Inc. look like? Because that's what we like to get into. You mentioned all those different streams of income. Talk to me about the way that you would kind of approach your business strategy in that way.
I love that question. Well, I've been selling and, listing and selling real estate for 20 years. And I was in a burnout phase. So when the television opportunity came, I was like, this is cool. I can still do what I love and then, add this as well. And now being on the second show on HGTV, which is amazing and such a blessing, I am now, I don't know if you know this, Mandy, but I'm also co-creator and executive producer of the show and host. So I get to see behind the scenes. Yes. And now I have fallen in love with executive producing. So my writing partner, who's also my business partner and my manager, we have created like 6 more shows that we're shopping. And now I'm on a whole new journey. So I still flip even outside of the TV show because that's just good to do. It's just good income. It's hard, but it's, it's what I love to do. And now being in front of the camera and then also doing, EP work behind the camera, I have found this amazing passion for that I am looking to focus on and continue to develop.
That's incredible. And can we go back to when you were talking about baby Paige dreaming of being a talent manager and all these years later, it seems like you're finding your way there ultimately. Now, maybe not in the way that you envisioned it, maybe not music, but if you can create 6 new pages with incredible shows, is that sort of the vision there?
Including one of my daughters moved back to Los Angeles with me. And she's an aspiring model. And so she just got a contract. I manage her, she just got a contract with an agent. So that's really fun to see that. And I love it. Oh, I love what you said. 5 or 6 little pages. Yes, that's what I want to see because I'm still a servant and I want to see everybody I can win. So if I'm in this position and I know somebody and you're good people, I'm connecting you. Don't embarrass me, right? You gotta be good people. I'm connecting you. If I see, my partner and I just scroll through Instagram like, oh, look at her. She's amazing. Let's just tap in and see how she's doing today. And that's how we found we haven't got greenlit yet, but we just signed with a production company to develop a show for another young woman to be on television in the home space.
Ah, that's incredible. I love it. I feel like the more we need like a million more Ava DuVernays, more Shonda Rhimes, and all the different niches.
And isn't it? You just give me chills. I love it. Yes, because there's room. There's room for all of us.
There's so much room. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much room. Talk to me a little bit about, for those curious, and just kind of to round out our conversation with the show. Talk about the show. What happens on the show? Why should we be watching? And what was it like for you to be under the microscope like that? Like, it's one thing to do your job, but then to have cameras following you around, it must be a whole different level of, I don't know, excitement, stress? I don't know. You tell me.
I love HGTV for this. Number one, because they are working their tails off to diversify this network and bring Black and brown people and every other color under the rainbow on the network. And I applaud them for that. Number two, they have allowed me and any person of color to really open the conversation with production and with them too. Like, the way my hair flows on TV is different than the way another woman's hair might flow that's of a different hue than me. So if you guys want to do demo day and then have a follow-up, do 3 scenes in one day, I can't do demo first because my hair is going to explode in this heat out here in California. And I don't have a pressing comb on site, and nor do I have a hairstylist. So, they've allowed really, but it's true because I'm like, listen, if my track is showing, you have to tap me on the shoulder. And there's just, we move different, and also, I have melasma under all this makeup, and it's like, and they work with me on it. My skin is not in a great space right now. And so I love that because of hyperpigmentation, which comes from the sun, which we're out in the sun working a lot. And that doesn't really have anything to do with color other than, listen, understand what I'm going through and let's have the conversation, which they allow us to have now, and not, not to say they ever looked down upon us, but nobody understood it. Now people are willing to listen to understand. And I appreciate that. What was the other question? Mandy, I forgot. I'm sorry.
I am the worst at asking 5 questions in one. I wish I could say I'm getting better at it, but I can't help myself. My first question was, I think it was maybe, what was it like for you to all of a sudden go from being a business mogul to then being one on TV? And what was that transition like?
Well, and you said, was it stressful or exciting? It is exciting seeing the end result because it all works out, but it is stressful during the process just because not only am I in front of the camera, but I'm also paying attention to what's going on behind the camera as well, because this is a show that I created and pitched and got greenlit during the pandemic. So that's amazing too. Pat on back. But
so you pitched the show. Okay. Because you said HGTV came calling, but no, I mean, you came up with the idea and pitched it, got it sold.
Oh, well, when I said came calling, what I meant was they literally called and said, hey, we want to put a show together for you, get you back on the network. And I said, well, hey, I already wrote a show. And they were like, well, hey, pitch it. And it was on a Zoom. And I said, right now? And it was about August of 2020. And I said, they said, yeah. And I said, oh, let me just stretch real quick. And I went off camera and I stretched for 20 seconds and I came back and I pitched it and they loved it. They were like, let's do it. And I was greenlit right after that.
Casual.
That goes back to preparation though. I was prepared for the moment and I had good relationship, Mandy, when I was on the first show. I always said thank you. I always emailed everybody, please and thank you. Even when the show got canceled, which the whole franchise did, they just moved on from it. I was like, hey, thanks for the run, because guess what? Life happens. Pivot time. And I just went on to the next, pursuit of passion and purpose. So it came right back to me. And that relationship kicked right back in, right? So I think we talk just alike because I'll just talk and say, okay, going back to your question. Mandy,
we lost it. We'll bring it back.
So here we go. So going back to the question, what is it like? It's amazing. It's thrilling. During a pandemic, hair, makeup, that's very serious to me. But at the end of the day, I'm living a dream that I went and caught. I stopped chasing dreams a long time ago. I'm too old to do that. I'm in the phase of my life now where I'm catching dreams. And being able to do that is amazing. And then to grow from it too as an executive producer and creator for other shows. Oh, I mean, it's like every day I'm so grateful.
Yeah, the power of not just being the talent in front of the camera, but also having... Not only, I mean, it probably opens you up, correct me if I'm wrong, to even more monetary gain, being the owner, the EP on the back end too, right?
That gives you 3 streams in one show. You just named every one of them.
Okay, lovely. I get it. But for creators out there, I mean, obviously not all of us have TV shows of our own, but I think that message is coming through for those of us who are watching people like you succeed. It's, but they own. But they are executive producing. It's more than yes, be the talent, but it's more important. It's also important for us to have a seat at the table.
Yeah. And there's more money behind the camera too. So, it's just like in the music industry, people see all of these, artists out here singing, but they travel so much because they only make real money when they're on the stage. That's when they get paid directly, but if they're not writing or producing themselves, then they're just a paid talent for that moment. Royalties is what makes people wealthy. And so even though there's no royalties in reality TV, there is just additional, they called line items, right? On the budget in television. And you get additional line items in addition to just being host. Not just because being host is amazing, but to being host, there's more. So learning the business on the other side, behind the camera, that is top notch. That's like, wow.
Yeah. For someone who's listening right now, and maybe they're not necessarily in real estate, but they may be thinking, I want to share my talent. I want to executive produce my own reality show. What would be your message to them if there's one thing that you can sort of take away from this conversation or do today to kind of put yourself on that path? Because you're proving it's possible. So, what would be one piece of advice or guidance you could offer?
Find a show, find a production company, call them and say, hey, I want to be PA. That's production assistant. So they're the ones that they really hold the show together, even though they're running around, even if it's giving out water, going to get lunch, it seems like the smallest role, but it will have the biggest effect because they're the ones that are really interacting with the host and the producers the most. So go and start somewhere. Even if you're a writer, you're like, I don't want to be a PA, a production assistant, because they seem like they're they just run the errands. You have to start somewhere. So why not start there? Call all the production companies in your area and say, hey, how can I get on set? Get your resume together and then start that way and work your way up. I have seen PAs grow, or even second camera assistants. They're the assistant to the camera man or woman. And it seems like they're just like, doing grunt work, but they're not, because I've seen them grow to be first camera men or women. Even on my show, like, oh my God, Matthew, you're camera one now. That's amazing. Because they moved up, but you have to start somewhere. And people are like, I don't know what's going on with this new generation. They don't want to work. They just want to have instant TikTok.
Hey,
not
now.
you, but some other ones that I see. I'm like, you have to do the work. That's why one of my companies is called Do the Work. And I'm not talking about do the work from not being lazy. I'm talking about do the work through perseverance, through the tears, through the no's, through the pivots. You have to keep going. But I've said this for years, Mandy, shake hands and kiss babies. That's how, like a politician, that's how you start building relationships.
Putting yourself also, I'm hearing from what you're saying, put yourself in the environment where people are doing the dream job that you want to do, or doing the work that you want to be doing. It's sitting and feeling isolated in Nebraska, like you said.
Get out.
Probably won't get you there. Get out.
You can't be the best kept secret. You have to get out there. And now that the world is opening back up again, go find the people who leave the clues to success and go follow them and do like they do. I bet you what they do every day, you're not doing.
I love it. Follow the clues that lead you to success, and you cannot be the best kept secret. Brag on yourself, share your story, just like you were. Be a page turner who's got the most incredible name ever. Shout out to Paige's mom for that little bit of wordplay. I'm delighted.
Thank you.
As a fellow writer, I see that. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Paige, for embodying Brown Ambition and for joining our show. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you, and I wish you continued success in all of your endeavors.
Mandy, thank you for allowing me to be here. I love what you're doing. Your platform is amazing. Your questions were amazing, and I just super feel connected. So thank you so much.